I'm joined by Bendigo Tramways Superintendent on one of the rare American Bernie trams. Dennis, how long have trams actually been in operation in Bendigo?
Actually, Jacqueline, since 1890, last century, Bendigo was, of course, a thriving gold mining city in those days, and it was at the forefront of technology. And of course, a transport system was required in the city, and they brought trams here in 1890. They ran through until 1972 as public transport, and at that stage, they were in danger of being disbanded and shifted around the country or the world. Many people were interested in our old trams, but fortunately we had a group of concerned locals who formed a non-profit body called the Bendigo Trust, and they actually managed to save all our trams. And since
how many are there?
There's 33 in total now, but at that time there were actually 23 in the fleet, and since 1972 until the present time, some 26 years, we've operated as a heritage tourist tramway. We're very lucky to have saved our entire collection of old trams here in Bendigo, as well as the old tram depot, which is today Australia's oldest operating tram depot remaining, and a third of our original street track system. And as I said, it's now used as a historic tour of our city. It's a 1-hour tour. You board the tram at the Central Deborah Gold Mine, you go into our tram depot and you can have a look at our old trams. Most of them are around 70 to 80 years old, and we're carrying somewhere around about 60,000 visitors to our city each year.
So I'm here with Dennis Bell. He was a former Bendigo Tramways Superintendent and a life member of the Bendigo Trust. Give us the story. How did it start, Bendigo?
Well, the Bendigo Trust goes back to 1970 when some concerned residents got together to save some of the history of Bendigo City. They wanted to keep a little legacy of the past, and I have to congratulate them for that. In those things that they were looking at keeping, one was the Central Deborah Gold Mine, and they were successful in making a great tourist attraction out of that. And then the second one that they put their teeth into was the vintage trams of Bendigo, who were closing down 2 years from there. In 1972 they were going to close. They were run by the SEC for a number of years, and it come a time where the governments of the day felt they'd expired their life. The Bendigo Trust put their thinking caps on, and they wanted to save all those trams. It was important to them to save this little bit of Bendigo, because Bendigo, as you know, is a very historic town. So as part of that history, the trams fitted in neatly, and today they're still running as vintage stalking trams. They turned into a tourist tram in 1972 after a lot of discussion with government bodies. Some in the government bodies said it was corny and gimmicky, and others were for it. Fortunately, we had Premier Rupert Hayner, who was for it, and on the 9th of December in 1972, we broke a bottle of Bendigo Red on the front of tram number 30, thus starting the tourist trams as we know them today. And out of the 23 trams I kept, I believe are all still there, and it's very important to keep our past, just as I have done with many of the buildings around Bendigo, because Bendigo is built on a legacy of gold, and that gold reflected in the city itself. I think if you're a Bendigodian, you can be quite proud of the bold and charming city that Bendigo has become.
And more personally, how did you become involved with Bendigo?
Oh, right. It was in 1984 that I moved my family across from South Australia to Bendigo, take up a position with the Bendigo Tramways, run by the Bendigo Trust. I was involved there until 1999, and I had very good days there, got good memories of good people, and I certainly grew an affection to those old trams. And most of them today, the Bendigo trams, are 100 years old or more. In fact, the 9th of December this year, 2022, will be 50 years since the Bendigo Trust ran this I've been running this operation. Remember that they were given a 2-year trial period, and here they are 50 years down the track. So I'd like to think there's a lot more years left in those old trams yet. That they're given tender care and love. I'm sure they're going to get a lot more mileage from them. And Bendigo is recognised for its history, and those trams are part of it.
Of Bendigo's fleet, Dennis, heritage fleet, which was the fleet that was saved from the SEC days. What of them are significant?
Well, they've got some very rare cars there, and notably comes to mind is the American Bernie cars. Extremely rare car. They were built for a one-man operation. They were just a small four-wheeler. And Bendigo's got 5 of them, which is the largest collection, I believe, anywhere in the world. There's only 7 in Australia. Here in Bendigo, we have 5, and they're extremely rare. And of course, there's a lot of people would like to get their hands on our Bernies. But we are here, of course, or Bendigo's there to preserve their past, not to sell it off. And if you sell it off, you've lost it forever. So Bendigo is recognised amongst tramway museum circles that they've got the biggest fleet of Bernie cars anywhere. So
You mentioned selling them off. Obviously, there are people who believe there's a surplus of a multiple of types within the fleet. Could leasing be a possibility?
well, that could be an option if you want to lease them, because so long as Bendigo always retain ownership, and that piece of history will never be lost to Bendigo. It's like selling off a pop-up tower, because Bendigo's got just a few of those left. You could say, well, we could sell one of those off. Now, that wouldn't make sense because there's so few left, they need to be all preserved, just like the Bernie car, but they could be leased out to other operations, and that wouldn't be a bad idea. It would be foster good relationships and let people see where the Bernies live.
Dennis, of course, along with the heritage fleet, there's a building that houses the trams, the depot. Tell us about the depot.
Well, it's got history in its own right. The tram barn was actually fabricated in the UK and sent out by ship, and it was erected there, completed in 1903. It is today's oldest continuously operated tram depot in Australia. It's got great significance from that, and the structure itself, if you look into it, it was fabricated well before they had welders. Everything's been hot riveted together, so it's been a grand old building and well put together and well constructed, and hence the reason it's still there 120 years later.
What are some of your best memories of running the tramway?
21 trams in the street for 1994 Cotmar procession. We got more trams in the street of Bendigo than ever had been before, and I don't think I've ever. Great tram races. We used to have, you may well remember, I used to use tram 18, or Flyer 1 if you like to, and we'd run them through the town. And of course, one of the guys that was there running him as a 12-year-old boy was Noel Selwood, which was now the captain of Geelong.
Oh, Joel Selwood.
Joel Selwood.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was there.
Really?
Yeah, he was 12-year-old, and he actually beat the tram by just a millisecond.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I don't think anybody else, but I could have governed the tram to make sure there was one or two that beat the tram. I wasn't going to tell everybody that. I just said, she's an old tram, we can't expect too much, and we can't go too quick on the curbs. but I thought, why would it be?
Got them down the straight though, Roderick.
I could, yeah. I'd notched up. I would have zoomed past, and I thought, there's no competition if I win all the time. I can't do that. I can't do that. But I've never told anybody, not told a soul. You're just the first.
Did you enjoy your time at Bendigo Tramways? And
I did enjoy my days at the Bendigo Tramways. It was pleasant work, and I had a great team around me, and enjoyed their companionship, and enjoyed what I was doing, because we were seeing the best side of people who were on holidays, and they were tourists coming to visit our city and to ride on our old historic trams. It's been So something different happening every day. And driving down Pall Mall on the tram in early morning, dewy morning in the springtime, with all the gardens looking splendid, was one of the most spectacular and pleasant streetscape you could get.
Mm. You got a lot of enjoyment out of that.
Absolutely, I certainly did. So going to work wasn't a hard job for me.
You gave you a sense of pride showing off your town?
Yes, it certainly did, and the old trams of Bendigo, they are very unique in their designs. You don't see those trams running very much in any other parts of this country. So Bendigo can be justly proud of the trams they have. They can put to work on the original track, original depot, and original trams that ran as public transport. And there will be a number of people alive today who can still remember affectionately riding those trams to work or to school.
Was there ever a time, speaking of the trams running on the original track, where there may have been instances of perhaps a dream of running the trams back in places where they used to run, as in, say, View Street and Mitchell Street?
Yes, that had been mentioned a number of times, to run trams back up to the railway station and run trams back up View Street. And for various reasons, that's never come to fruition.
Do you think that it would be important for something like that to...
It would be a good thing to run to the railway station, to put a link for the city centre from the railway station. There's always that possibility that they certainly could, and that would be one that I would consider, that if you want to expand it, it would be well worth looking into running up into the railway station. For people coming up from Melbourne on the train, very good train service, and in the old days that's exactly what the trams did, pick up people from the railway station and take them back into the city.
You've probably heard a little of rumours lately expanding around the country over the future of the Bendigo Tramways fleet, the saved fleet. What do you make of that?
Well, I hope they're only rumours, because it'll be a sad day if Bendigo starts selling off its heritage.
Do you think more care could have been taken with the protection of it?
Yes, I know that trams don't exist very well left in the weather, so they need to be given some sort of protection from the weather elements if they're not being used.
So obviously there's a lot of passion that drives you to do the job that you had so much pride in. Tell me about others who may have been involved that bled that passion on you.
Well, there were certainly others, and I would think we'd have to first mention those who were the founding members of the Bendigo Trust. And some of those are still alive today. Especially, I had a close association with Dennis O'Hoy, and I know he put in a lot of time and effort to achieve what's been achieved by the Bendigo Trust, him and many others. Of course, it was first started off by Edgar Harrison, who I knew quite well. He wrote that letter to the Bendigo Advertiser in 1970, and that's when passions were stirred that we should be saving our heritage and not selling it off, because the idea of the SEC, they could have easily sold every tram elsewhere other than Bendigo. Because they were Bendigo's tram for public transport for many
Dennis,
years.
why did you leave Bendigo?
It was mainly for family reasons. I moved back to South Australia, and then for family reasons I've come across here to the other side of the continent, to Perth.
I made this.